Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, Elevate Your Surveillance Solutions with Access Communications. We're going to talk about add-ons and features that you should know about. So today we're checking in with experts from Access who will talk through their end-to-end solutions. Your customers don't know what they don't know. They're not the surveillance expert, you are. Every time you meet a customer, you have the opportunity to introduce them to solutions and features that can make their organization safer and more efficient. How often do you go beyond a basic surveillance solutions of cameras, software, and a recording device? There's so much more to explore in the world of video surveillance. During this webinar, we'll show you how you can provide more value to your customers and make a higher return on every project with solution add-ons and specific features by Access. I'm Jillian Bateman, ESA's Chief Development Officer, and I'll be facilitating our discussion today. Before we dive in with the Access end-to-end expert, Mitch Mershon, I do have some tips for those of you joining us on your very first ESA webinar. First, welcome. ESA, or the Electronic Security Association, is the largest and longest standing association serving the pro-installed electronic security and life safety industry. Our members are integrators, dealers, monitoring centers, and even manufacturers and service providers in the space like Access. We are the voice of electronic security and life safety. If your company is a member of ESA, thank you. And we hope you're taking advantage of your ESA benefits to leverage growth and connections for your team. If your company is not an ESA member, check us out. You'd be surprised at the power of ESA membership. Get a feel for all the ESA benefits, including savings on business insurance, training, sales team coaching, certifications that satisfy state licensing, and more at esaweb.org. Okay, now to the good stuff. All callers will be muted for the duration of the webinar, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. At any point, click the Q&A button at the bottom of your control panel or the chat button to pose a question to our expert today. There's no need to save those questions until the end of today's session. If something pops up, go ahead and ask it or comment, and I'll ensure we save time at the end of today's presentation to pose your questions to our expert. We'll also be recording today's webinar, so you can watch the on-demand video at your leisure and share it with your colleagues. Just give us until tomorrow to get the video exported and hosted on the ESA website. You'll receive a link in an email tomorrow thanking you for your email, so there's no need to go searching for it. We at ESA realize your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our expert, Mitch Mershon. Mitch is a business development manager for end-to-end solutions at Access Communications. He is responsible for driving Access's end-to-end solutions initiatives, including product launches, daily management, forecasting, and coordinated activities with sales and marketing. For nearly a decade, Mershon has trained partners on the value of solution selling, providing valuable skills for expanding a system beyond a single product to deliver additional value to the end user. Mitch, let's dive in. Mitch, it looks like you're muted.
There we go. Of course, we have to start off that way. Well, Jillian, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. And to the audience, thank you very much. We know that your time is valuable, so we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this presentation. So obviously, I'm here to talk about end-to-end solutions with Access. So now that you've seen who I am going to drop off video just to make sure we have the best experience, but I will be here with you throughout. And with that, we will go ahead and get started with the presentation. So as Jillian mentioned, I'm here to talk about how you can elevate your surveillance solutions with Access. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about add-ons and features that you should know about that maybe you haven't kept up with what's going on with Access or with Access Camera Station and our end-to-end solutions. And this is going to be that catch-up that's going to help you differentiate yourselves from the rest of the market. So with that, let's start diving in. So with the agenda, we're going to just walk you through what the basics of an end-to-end solution are. But then we're going to really focus in on what are those differentiators. So we're going to give you 4 valuable features within Access Camera Station, and then I'll show you what those look like later on with a demo. And then we're also going to talk about 5 essential add-ons to elevate your offering. So instead of just talking about cameras and a VMS, we're going to talk about what additional technologies you can add on to maximize your revenue potential with every customer you have. And as Jillian mentioned, we will have a live Q&A. So as any of your questions come up, pop them in the Q&A and I'll either answer them as we go through if I can sneak it in, and if not, we'll catch you at the very end. So first off though, we want to have a quick poll. So we want to know, have you ever used an Axis end-to-end solution before? So we'd like to know, is it yes, Axis is my go-to VMS? Yes, once or rarely, but no, I typically use another video management solution. And we'll give you just a minute here to answer that question. All right, and it looks like we have a nice mix of those that have used us and those that haven't. So to those that have, thank you very much. To those that haven't, maybe today we'll get you convinced that it's something to check out as you move forward. So first off, you might be asking yourself, what is an end-to-end solution? Well, an end-to-end solution is the cameras, the recording solution, so the hardware, the NVR, and the VMS, the video management software. But you don't have to just stop there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the big key to an end-to-end solution is that all the components come from a single vendor. And as you can see here on the screen, you can see we have audio, we have speakers, we have cameras, we have door stations, and again, the recording and playback technology with our NVR, and you can see Axis Camera Station there. So we're going to talk again today about how you can get all of this from Axis. But first off, let's talk a little bit about the VMS platforms that we have to offer, because at the core of everything, you have to have a VMS that's going to be the piece that does all of the recording and makes all those different pieces of technology talk together. The first offering we have is Axis Companion. It is a simple VMS for easy and effective surveillance. The best part about Companion is you can go and download it and use it for free. Now, you can imagine if it's for free, there's going to be a few limitations that go along with it. One of those being that it's only going to work with Axis devices. But if you have a small little boutique or smaller shops, this is going to be perfect for those end users that don't necessarily have the real big, robust feature set needed. They just need to be able to record video, playback video, and view their video. So you could always take a look at Companion. Now, what I'm going to talk a little bit more about today is going to be focused on the more robust feature set of Axis Camera Station. This is what you think about whenever you start talking about a standard VMS. It's going to work inside the retail space, education, especially in the K-12 spaces where we're starting to see a lot of opportunity. But this is going to have the more robust feature set. It's going to be able to bring in third-party cameras as well as working with the entire Axis portfolio. And so whenever you hear me talk today, we're really going to be focusing in on Axis Camera Station. So with that, what are some of the valuable features that you might not necessarily know about within Camera Station? Well, the first off is one of our most known pieces of software is Axis Device Manager. Device Manager is going to let you control your entire solution from a single interface. So if you've worked with it before, you've been tying in with our cameras, being able to update IPs, the recording profile, control your firmware, even as going as far as to starting to manage cybersecurity opportunities. This is a program you're probably already familiar with. But now, instead of having to run 2 different pieces of technology simultaneously, we've embedded Axis Device Manager into Axis Camera Station. So as you're going through and doing your configuration of your system, you're now doing that through an interface that you're already familiar with. Another piece is always talking about health monitoring. Health monitoring is going to allow you to connect to multiple end user sites simultaneously. And right now it's a cloud-based application that all of those systems report up to. They're going to report on the health of the camera, the health of the NVR, provide you some reporting. And the biggest piece is it's going to offer you the opportunity to tack on RMR, or recurring monthly revenue, to every one of your projects. Now we know with ESA, there's a lot of alarm dealers. So, RMR is a part of your lexicon already. But if you're not, well, you can always talk about having a service agreement. Whenever we talk about the customers for Access Camera Station, a lot of them are going to be the end customer is the security officer, the CEO, the stock person, and the cashier all at once. So they're not going to have a dedicated security force that's looking at the system all the time. So they will pay to have that peace of mind knowing that you as the integrator are actually watching the system for them in case something does happen to go offline. We've all been there. The worst case scenario you can have with an end user is that they have an incident, they call you up and say, hey, I need some help getting this video exported. I have the cops right here and I'm just having some trouble. You go to their site, you help them out, only to find out that the camera that had that perfect angle of the incident has been offline for a week, or even worse yet, their entire solution has been offline and they just didn't know about it. By offering system health monitoring, now you're in the driver's seat to be able to proactively let them know if something does happen to go awry before the incident happens. Now, one of my favorite features of Access Camera Station is video redaction. We know privacy is becoming a bigger and bigger topic within the security space. So what we do with video redaction as well as our privacy shield is this allows you to protect the identity of those who aren't necessarily involved in an incident. So the way that we've kind of worded this is you still record everything, but you only show what you want. And this is what I'll be talking about in my demo here later, but this is especially perfect if you work in the healthcare and K-12 space. Because what video redaction does is it will still record everything, but before you export the video, you can apply a mask over sections of the video to, again, only show those that are involved in the incident. So again, K-12, that's very important. We know that they're all going to be underage, so we don't want their video just out floating around. It's the same thing with healthcare. That's a little bit more tied with Privacy Shield, which runs on the camera, and that actually masks out any motion as what we call kind of Project Blue Man, where you'll see that as people walk through, their identities are masked out, and that actually doesn't get recorded. So depending on the level of identification you need, we've got multiple options to be able to work with. One of the last pieces that I want to talk about is something that I think is a little bit unique within Access Camera Station, is our ability to work with our decoders. So being able to add in a decoder, you could call that an add-on, absolutely. We won't necessarily talk about it as an add-on today, but by being able to add on a decoder, you can easily and quickly add a public view monitor to any solution. And the best part about this is you can actually remotely control it through Access Camera Station. And again, this is one of the pieces that I'll talk about during my demonstration today. But again, being able to add in a public view monitor, we know how often we see those whenever we walk into a gas station or a department store. Now you can quickly, easily, and cost effectively add that into a solution as well. So I've already kind of kicked into it with the decoders, but what are some additional essential add-ons that we can add to a surveillance solution to elevate it beyond just cameras and a VMS? Well, the first one, and probably the most robust one that we can add into almost every project, is audio. If you haven't been following Access or you've been living under a rock, you might not know that we have audio solutions available now. So we've gone from having just one speaker and a couple different options to now a full set of recording software to be able to control and manage your entire solution, but also a number of speakers depending on the scenario that you're taking a look at. So what can we do with audio? Well, first off, we're always trying to improve security, hence the S in ESA. So now we can, with event-triggered announcements and direct call-outs, we can help prevent things before they even happen. If we tie this in with an analytic, the analytic can let us know that there's motion after hours, and we can then play a pre-recorded announcement, letting someone know that they're on video before they go and try and do something nefarious. We can also transmit live or scheduled announcements. So let's say that this isn't necessarily a security setting, but a school setting or a retail setting. We can play an announcement every time someone walks into a room, or if we're 10 minutes from closing, we can automatically play that message to let everyone know. And the last, but definitely not least, is creating the right ambiance. By using background music, you can actually increase sales in a retail setting. But again, as we know, we're really focused primarily here on security. So we can start to throw out some statistics that make people feel a little bit better. We can reduce crime, we can reduce shrink, and we can actually see a drop in theft and vandalism. Again, because now instead of just saying, okay, maybe there's a camera up there, I'm not too worried about it. By letting someone know that they are on camera, first thing, if you put it right by the camera, you put the speaker by the camera, whenever they hear something, they're going to look right at the camera. So now you've got a clear shot of their face and you're reminding them that they're on video. So being able to do that, you can imagine that does lead to a drop in theft. So what are some of our audio solutions? Well, you can see here, these are three of our primary movers. We have our new Axis C1410 mini speaker. This is great for those indoor opportunities and actually has a built-in I/O. So you're going to be able to detect motion and then send that information out to a system if necessary. Let's say you need something a little bit more powerful, you're in a noisy area, you're in an outdoor environment, you have the C1310 horn speaker. That's going to be able to let you know that you're being watched from all the way across a football field. And let's say you're in that retail space, you want to be a little bit more cognizant of how the speaker actually looks. We have our standard cabinet speaker. And the one thing that I want to remind you, all of these, the entire portfolio, are network speakers. They have a PoE port, so they are PoE powered. They look just like a camera as a device on the network. So you're going to be able to remotely configure and set them up. So these, if you haven't taken a look at audio, let us know because we're more than happy to walk you through. This is a little bit of a disruptive technology. We're just like whenever we moved from the analog cameras over to IP cameras, this is that first step in moving from the analog audio over to IP. Along the same thread is talking about network intercoms. Network intercoms are really a 3-for-1 device. So you're going to get video surveillance because we have a camera built in, obviously. We also provide two-way communication. So as you can see, we're pressing the button here. The person pressing the button can talk to an operator. The operator can talk back down to the individual. They can see them as well, again, because we have our camera in there. But then we also have an I/O built in. So that can be tied to a lock. So we're actually able to remotely unlock a door to let someone in. So again, having 3 devices all in one. So now your operators can see the person, talk to them, and then let them in. You can imagine that this makes deliveries very efficient because also whenever you're working with Access Camera Station, whenever you press that button, that can be pushed to our mobile app. So you can be anywhere in the world, receive the call, and be able to let that person in. So if we take a look at our network intercoms, we have our new A8207 VE Mark II. As you can see, it's got a lot more robust feature set. It's going to be able to accept reading a card. It's going to have some opportunities for being able to add in just some newer technologies. We also have our workhorse, the A8105, as well as our 2N entire product portfolio. That's fully integrated into Access Camera Station at this point. So if you see a 2N device, know that that can come in with Access Camera Station. 2N is going to take us to the next level. So with our A8105 and our A8207, it's kind of one-way communication. It's really meant for a one-to-one relationship. With the 2N, that provides a lot more for the multi-dwelling units and being able to go through a directory. So a lot of opportunities, and again, all of it can be worked with through Access Camera Station. The next piece, as we've talked about entry, is going to be talking about network access control. We know that access control is always going to be a big ticket item whenever we're talking about security. So we're going to be able to use badging to be able to lock and unlock doors, be able to get in and out. We can also tie that in with our cameras. So whenever someone scans a badge, we want to make sure that the person who scanned the badge is the person that they said they were. So we're now going to be able to see that. If you want to, you could tie that in with the HVAC system because again, we're going to be open with all of our information, our API. We can send and receive notifications to different systems. So if nobody's in the office, well, let's go ahead and turn the AC down or turn the heat down to be able to save on a little bit of energy. Or as you can imagine, this can also easily be integrated with time and attendance systems. Whenever we talk about network access control, we have two different options. We have the A1601, which is going to be able to handle more in terms of the number of cards, the number of users, the number of doors, as well as our entry-level system, which is the A1001. The A1001 is actually a self-maintaining unit. So all of your program is going to be done within the A1001, whereas the A1601 is going to be in addition to having an access control software. Now, one of the coolest things that we've launched recently, we know this is, again, a very hot button issue, are wearable solutions. So we've recently launched our entire wearables line. And what that's going to do, as you can imagine, is provide evidence and or documentation in the form of video. So what does this actually get you? Well, you're going to have deterrence, because now whenever a situation is occurring, the person that shows up on site has the camera on them. The people that are causing the issue now see that they are on camera, and no longer is it a he said, she said type of back and forth. Now you have video evidence of this. But that also leads to transparency of the people who are actually wearing the device, because they now know that everything they're saying and doing is being recorded. That ties in with accountability. So now everyone knows that all their responsibilities are being taken seriously. They're going to be held accountable for all their actions. But that can also tie into learning. This is going to be able to take any situation. We now have a full documented process behind everything. They can now take that and use that as a learning experience. Now, obviously, everyone thinks that this is going to be tied specifically to law enforcement, but actually, we're starting to see this come into areas that we didn't necessarily expect. So, for example, this could be in stadiums, public transportation, first responders, critical infrastructure, healthcare. Now, instead of just having our fixed cameras in the locations that we have them, we can now use them on a person. So the nice part about this is, just like our cameras, we've made integration very easy. So out of the gate, the body-worn systems work and are integrated with Access Camera Station, Milestone, and Genetec. We've also made them very reliable. Just like what you've come to know with Access in general, we have gone through and made it very reliable. The data offloading is simple. It's secure with end-to-end encryption. And we've also designed these to be and meet and exceed the highest government cybersecurity standards. We know, especially in tense situations, that all of that video could be very susceptible. So we want to make sure that everyone knows from point A to point B, it has been secured, it has not been tampered with. So now we know by using our body-worn solution. So if we take a look at what the entire offering is, it's not just the actual camera itself. We have the controller, which is going to take care of offloading all the video from the actual body-worn camera. We have multiple docking options. We have multiple mounting options, as well as even including our mini bullet sensor. So if you don't necessarily want all the video coming just directly from the chest, you prefer the over-the-shoulder view, we can make that attachment and get going with that. So a whole lot of options with our body-worn solutions. If you haven't taken a look at them, I highly recommend reaching out to your local Access representative. They can give you a full demo with a whole lot more information on all the opportunities you can run into with our body-worn solutions. The last and definitely not least is working with analytics. So analytics allow analytics are going to allow any end user to basically proactively deter and detect any unwanted any behaviors. So not only that, though, we can start talking about making businesses more intelligent. So we've got multiple different options depending on the analytics that you want to use. What they ultimately allow customers to do is free up resources that might have been sitting there just staring at a screen waiting for something to happen. And now they can take those resources and apply them to being out and about. So instead of having a security guard just staring at a monitor, they could be out doing patrols. They could be out talking with other people, making sure that things are safe, doors are locked, instead of, again, being just there staring at screens waiting for something to happen. Also, whenever that security guard was just staring at the monitor while they would see something happen, then they had to go take care of it. So there's an amount of time, there's a delay between the time that something occurs and the time that is being reacted to. By being able to proactively detect these opportunities, now, again, if we tie that in with something like a speaker, they could speak down to the person immediately, letting them know that they're doing something that they're not supposed to. And that cuts down the amount of time between when something started to happen and when it might have finished. Again, the word that I want to reiterate here is proactive. Video surveillance has typically been a reactive. Something happens, now I go back and look at it. But with analytics, you can now get proactive in terms of trying to stop something before it even happens. Whenever we talk about analytics, we are typically thinking of our guard suite. The nice part is this now comes preloaded on our Q series cameras. That's going to help you monitor fence lines, look at basic areas to be able to set up if something is going on. But also the one thing that I mentioned and didn't really talk about too much on the last slide though is business intelligence. We can take a look at a queue monitor. How many people are standing in line? If there are 3 or 4 people standing in line, well, let's go ahead and play an announcement to the back office, letting someone know that we need a cashier up front. Now, again, we're taking something that has only previously been security, and now we're bringing that into operations. We can start talking about demographics. Now we're talking about bringing into the marketing budget as well. And the last but not least is our video motion detection, and that is preloaded on every Axis camera. So now if you have a camera, you're going to be able to design and lay out what size of motion needs to occur to trigger that recording or even to trigger some type of alert. Set that up with a schedule, and now you're letting people know, again, before something happens, people shouldn't be waiting around our door at 10 p.m. 3 hours after we've closed. But now with one of our cameras, we can let someone know that that's happening. We can play an announcement over a speaker and let that person know you're on camera. So I've talked about a number of different technologies, but what does this look like in the actual how it ties together? Well, first off, let's take a look at what are the essentials of an end-to-end solution. So if we go back to my very first slide, we said that the essentials are having the cameras. As you know, Axis has over 300 different types of cameras that can be used for almost every need that you can imagine, whether that's a 360 camera, a pan tilt zoom or PTZ camera, thermal cameras. All of that has to record somewhere. So you're going to be getting an Axis recorder with Axis Camera Station and a workstation to be able to view your evidence, as well as our free mobile viewing app. But if that's where you stop, you're missing out on so much more. So we've already talked today about public view monitors and working with decoders and the value that those can bring. We've talked about our audio solutions. We've talked about our door stations, being able to control the deliveries, being able to communicate with someone to be able to unlock a door for them. But also, just from a general standpoint, we can start to talk about working with one of our network I/O modules. So take a second and think about what can you do with an I/O relay? Well, you could turn on a light. You could open a barrier, you could unlock a door, you could send that trigger to an alarm panel. Now you have a whole lot of options that, again, that are going to be right at your fingertips. So you can see that if we just sold in cameras and a workstation and that was it, well, we missed out on all these opportunities. Not only is this revenue potential for you, but this is also how you build out and solve problems for your end users. You want to become that trusted advisor, and this allows you to do that. But we can even take it one step further. Again, we've already talked about our access control solutions. So we can take that next step further and tie that in with analytics. And the best part, since all of this is from Axis, that's one number to call for sales and technical support. That's all of the pieces working together because they're from a single vendor. And again, you're getting all of the quality that you have known for all those years with Axis. So that is the value of an end-to-end solution with Axis. A few different opportunities for what you can use as part of an end-to-end solution. But now let's show off some of this just in a nice little demo. So let me switch over to my Axis Camera Station client. So we'll give it a second, make sure that it pops up on your screen. And the first thing that I want to point out with Access Camera Station, again, this is going to have that more robust feature set, is that if you take a look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that I see Canada, Tokyo, Sweden. Those aren't just names. Those are actually, I am connected to servers from all around the world. Now, we know that probably you don't have customers necessarily in all these other different countries, but what we're showing here is you can connect to multiple servers simultaneously. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and bring up cameras simultaneously from all the different locations. So this could be a school system. This could be a business with 2 or 3 different locations. Now they can monitor everything from a single location. But also, as I do all of this, just make sure to notice how quickly and how responsive the solution is. That's one of the biggest things, because whenever I show you Sweden here, this is a live view from Sweden. You can see I've got some lights going on and off. And again, it's about 6 hours ahead, so it's between 7:30 or 8:30, depending on what time zone you're in. So it's a little bit dark. So what I want to do is maybe I see something going on here, and I want to bring in just a little bit more light into the area. So what I did is I just hit a button here in Access Camera Station. That triggered a rule. So we have a rules engine that allows an if then. If something happens, then do something else. In this case, if I press this button, then trigger an IO, which turns on a light. So all I have to do is click the button again, and you can see how quickly that this message travels. I'm in Florida, so Sweden we know is 3,000 or 4,000 miles away, and it is nearly instantaneous for us to be able to do something like turning on a light. And again, I'm just working with an IO, so I could be raising a gate. I could be doing a number of other things that an IO is going to allow us to do. So this is one of my favorite things. Also, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom in here real quick. And this is, as you can see, one of our 360 cameras. I'm going to make sure that my streaming profile is on high, so we give you the best and most clear view. One of the things I talked about was we have our live privacy shield. This is what we would call a more static privacy shield. So one of my coworkers sits at this desk right here. He doesn't necessarily like being watched 24 hours a day by people in different countries, so he set up a little mask. But you can see that even though this is on a 360 camera and we're moving around, that's going to stay over that static area. So we now have 3 different options of being able to mask out an area. We have a static one like this. We have our privacy shield, which is going to actually follow around the motion. So again, an individual is moving around, they're going to be what we call blued out. And then the last one that we'll talk about whenever I do my demo here in just a minute is going to be our video redaction, which is they've been recorded and everything is able to be seen, but before we export it and give it out, we're going to apply a mask to it. So again, one of my favorite things to talk about is how quickly we can work with our IOs. Another thing that I want to talk about is I'm going to come over here to our bench. And what we're going to see over here in the bottom left-hand corner is you've got this little box that you can maybe see just a couple little spikes happening every now and then. What this is an audio analytic that we're running. This is our audio spectrum analyzer. So what it's doing is it's just simply listening and giving you a visual representation of what's going on in that room from an audio perspective. And as you can imagine, it's again getting into the mid and late evening, so there's nobody inside of our office right now. But let's say again, I've seen something's going on. And you can see I've got this little button right here that says trespasser. So again, utilizing our rules engine by clicking on what we call an action button. What I'm actually doing is I am now tying in with one of our C1310 horn speakers. And you can see down here in the bottom left that our spectrum analyzer is going off. It's not exactly easy to let you all listen to what's going on my PC. So in this case, by working with our audio spectrum analyzer, you can see that we're, by clicking this button, playing an audio message down to a location in Sweden, letting someone know that they're being watched. Now, again, we're doing this manually. That could be done automatically if we tied in one of our video motion detections, whether that's our perimeter defender or any of our guard suite. Or again, in this case, all I can do is just press a button and be able to play it. You'll also notice down below, I've got 3 different options here. What I can do is I can actually listen to what's going on. If I have multiple cameras up that all have audio, we know that this became a very big topic in healthcare, people being able to monitor multiple rooms simultaneously. If I want, I can simply click on that. If I had 4 cameras all playing audio simultaneously and listen to just that one. But also, I can click on this little button, and what this will do is it will take the audio that's coming in through my microphone and play it down to Sweden. So you can actually, again, see we're starting to get an uptick right here. That's because I am speaking to the speaker inside of that office. So being able to tie in audio, you can see all the different ways that this can take us from that reactive security of something happened, now I need to go back and view the video of it, to being able to get to proactive security of letting someone know that they're being watched before they do what they're getting ready to do. So I also got to talk a little bit about working with our decoders. So I'm going to come up here to Canada, and you can see that I have a camera that's just staring at a monitor. Well, why would I want to do something to just stare at a camera staring at a camera? Well, the reason that I want to do this is I can actually click on any of our cameras over here. So if I take a look at my Q6000, you can see that I did get a little thumbnail. I can show that on screen 1, so it'd be my other screen that you aren't seeing, or I could show it on my T8705. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a quick notification over here, and you can see that our screen has gone black. And now what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be sending that video. We have a quick RTSP connection timeout. You can imagine trying to do something on the fly, you're always going to run into something like this. But as you can see, we now have our camera. So what I have done is I've actually sent a command to our decoder, and it's reached out to the camera and is now pulling in a different camera stream. So again, this is up in Canada, so I'm a few thousand miles away. I have remotely updated a decoder or a public view monitor in Canada. Pretty cool technology to be able to offer up, because we know that being able to have that right view up, this can let someone know if you see something from a central station operation standpoint and you're talking to a guard on site and they have one of these set up, you can push, here, take a look at this camera. Here's what I'm seeing. You can imagine that that makes communication much easier across an entire team. So the last piece I want to talk about is kind of tying a few different pieces together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I've already got it kind of set up here. Is what we're going to talk about is what we call Smart Search. So Smart Search is an analytic that goes through and scrubs through video and finds only when there's motion in a given area. As you can see down here at the bottom, we have a solid blue line. That means that we're continuously recording video. Well, let's say we don't know exactly when something happened, but we know where it happened. What we can do is we can go through and set up our shape to say, I only want to know when motion happened in this particular area of the entire stream. We could also go through and set up some other basic analytics, like there had to be motion for a given amount of time, or the object had to be at least this size. We don't care if a bird flew through, but we are concerned if a person walked through that area. We're able to set that up. We're able to set up the entire search time that we want to. And if we click search, what we will do is we'll get a whole bunch of results that will show us, okay, here's every time that there was motion within that given area. Not only that, but here's how long there was motion in that area. So if I see 0.2 seconds, okay, that's probably not what we're looking for. But if I see 24 seconds, okay, this might be what we're interested in. So in this case, what we see is we have a van doing something suspicious here. So I'm kind of curious to see, I click on play, we're watching our van, but we have a person over here that's doing a walkthrough. They're not involved at all in the incident, but since we're sitting here watching the van, we do have to take that person into consideration. And this is over in Sweden, as you can see down here at the bottom. So they have what's called GDPR. So they have a lot of concerns about privacy, and if you're not involved in an incident, not being associated with that incident. So let's say we've gone through, we've scrubbed through our video, we've got all the information that we need. Now we need to export it. So we've gone through, and all we have to do for an export is just click on our little flags here. You see the nice obvious export area here. If we just take that down to the area that we're actually interested in, and then all we have to do is click on the export button. And what that will do is that will take us over into our export interface. So our export interface has kind of a couple cool different little options. So one of the first ones is being able to preview what you're getting ready to export. Now, again, I'm sure we've all been there, that we've gone through, we've gotten our export ready, we click export, wait for it to export, come back and view the video, and you accidentally cut off the first or the last couple seconds. Okay, now we got to go through, we have to find the video again, we have to get it all set up, and we have to re-export it. So now, to take care of that opportunity, all we have to do is come in, we have our preview, I click on play, and we'll actually get to see all of the video as it's going to be exported. So again, we see the van, we see the person walking through. Okay, we know this is exactly what we need, we're good to go. But we still have this problem of the person walking through the screen. So what I can do is I can come up here and click on our little movie reel with the pencil, and that's going to pull up our video redaction interface. What the video redaction interface, again, is going to allow us to do is mask out whatever areas that we want to be able to mask out. So if I wanted to, let's just go ahead and I'm going to press play and I'm going to wait for our person to start to walk onto the screen. We see there they are. I'm going to click on this add bounding box. And as you can see, it's kind of that standard blur somebody out box. And I'm going to cover our person. So now if I press play again, we'll wait for it to start moving. And well, that didn't really help us much because the box didn't move, but the person did. So, well, let's just go ahead and we'll move the box. We'll resize it to cover the person. We'll back up to the beginning. And now we'll go ahead and click play again. And what you'll see is that the box is going to move and reshape based on the line that I had just drawn. So that's kind of cool to be able to do that. We can now, if we wanted to, we could let the video continue to play, and we could just follow the person and continue to move our box and be able to do that. Now, one thing I just want to show, just as kind of a proof of concept here, is in this case, we're protecting the identity of the person. Now, let's say that we only wanted to show the person and not the rest of the background. Well, what we could do is just invert what we have. So we can change our video background to pixelated and then change our bounding box to clear. And now you can see as it moves forward that the entire background is going to be blurred out and we're only watching the person. So depending on which way you want to go, how much area you're going to be blocking out, you can make this very quick and very simple. Now, but wouldn't it be nice though if I didn't have to go through and continually move the bounding box? I didn't have to go through and just continually, okay, move it a little bit here, resize it a little bit here. Well, let's say if we can just click on this generate bounding box. And now you can see that we have two bounding boxes. So this one's going to cover where there's motion with the van, but this bounding box right here is going to be our person. So all I have to do is click on that, click on pixelated. And now if I go back to the very beginning and click play, what you'll see is the access camera station and the camera have gone through and changed and added in the mask. Now you can see that we're getting into conflicting messages with our motion. So we would still have to go through and be able to bring that over here. But the bulk of the work was actually done for us. So you can see how quickly and easily we can go through and mask out areas that are of concern or not of concern, depending on which way you want to look at it. So being able to do this on the fly very quickly is something that is a very powerful tool. Again, as I mentioned, inside of healthcare, inside of K-12, this is going to be something that's going to be very, very beneficial for you to be able to offer and quickly show off to an end user. If you want to talk about those key differentiators, this is something that's going to make you stand apart from the rest of the competition inside of your area. So that's a very quick introduction to kind of some of the cooler features within Access Camera Station. I could go on, as you can imagine, for hours about all the different and cool features, what makes us different, all the different features, the design of the graphical user interface from a general standpoint. But that gives you that little introduction to it. So I'm going to switch back over to our PowerPoint slide here. And the first question I want to hit you up with here is, would you like to be contacted by an Access representative? Did what I talk about here today pique your interest? to be able to want to learn more, to be able to get a demo, wherever you're at, we have an access representative that covers your area. So what we can do is if you say yes here, we'll have someone reach out to you and be able to get you all the information that you're going to need. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the Q&A. It does look like we have a few questions that have come in. So it looks like the first question is, how does the door release and live speaker announcement work monitoring off site? So I'll answer this in a couple different ways. So the door release is basically just sending a message to an IO relay. So that could be what we call a pulse. So if it's in a normally off state, we can activate it or deactivate it depending on what your normal state is for a given amount of time. It could be a toggle to where it's on from off or off from on. And that can again be done remotely through the interface, as you saw, and that could be permissions based. So if you have an operator that isn't allowed to be able to unlock doors, they don't get to see that camera. But if you have someone that is able to go through and remotely do all of that, they're going to be able to remotely unlock those doors, again, through their mobile app or through the client interface. And working with the speakers, that's going to depend on whether we're manually initiating that, like I was doing there with the button, where it is simply press the button and play the announcement, or if it's being done locally with an analytic. The analytic will send a message to Access Camera Station, letting it know that it has detected some type of behavior. Access Camera Station will then say, oh, okay, I've received this message. I have a rule associated with it, and that rule tells me to send a message to the speaker to play an announcement. So you have Access Camera Station acting as a, call it the middleman or the messenger to say, I've received information from over here. We're gonna pop out an action over on this other side. Are there any mobile credential options in the works? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by mobile credentials. That's if you're talking about being able to use like near field communication with Bluetooth from your phone to a reader, that's going to be reliant on the reader technology, which would then tie back to our A1001 or A1601. So there's a couple technicalities that we would want to take a look at. So if you want to reach out to your local access representative, they'll get you in touch with one of our access control specialists, and they'll be able to give you a much cleaner answer based on what you're trying to do. All right, so we have another one. Can we use a microphone at the camera station client to announce directly to a speaker? Yes, we can, and that's actually what I was showing off during one of the times. I was talking to you as we are now through my laptop and being able to relay that information, that message to a speaker over in Sweden live. So you can get bi-directional communication directly from a microphone to a speaker. Okay, next question. How did you link all of your servers together into Access Camera Station? So basically, we'll be working on what we call a server list. So what that server list does is it is just a list of servers, and we can build that inside of Access Camera Station. So if you'd like to reach out to our technical support, they'll be able to show you how to set that up to where you can view everything individually. So if you look at Companion will only allow you to work with one location at a time. But Camera Station, there's a couple different ways you can go about setting up being able to connect to multiple servers simultaneously. Jillian, do you see any other questions coming in?
I do have a couple here. Where can I access Integrator Suite and what is the cost associated?
So Integrator Suite, that's a very good question. I didn't really get to touch on it today as much as I would like to. Integrator Suite is a suite of tools designed to help the integrator go through and design the solution, as well as being able to run some installation tests, configure the solution, as well as tying in with system health monitoring. The best part about all of it is this is a free suite of tools for you as the integrator. So if you want to design your solution, go to sitedesigner.axis.com or just Google Axis Site Designer. You'll be able to log in and design your entire solution. That solution can then be imported into Axis Camera Station. Axis Camera Station can then run Installation Verifier, which is going to run a stress test on the entire solution. And then again, as we mentioned today, it was working with system health monitoring to make sure that all of your devices are up and running. And again, best part, all of that is included with Axis Camera Station for free.
Okay, can you use an Axis radar unit to trigger auto tracking on an Axis PTZ and also maybe trigger a time-driven pre-recorded message?
Yes, absolutely. So I didn't even get to talk about that today. So another add-on that we could always talk about is our radar solutions. Those can be set up in multiple different ways. So as the question asked, that can lead to a PTZ actually going through and tracking an individual or an object as it moves through. But then also, if they move from one zone to another, that could be a trigger for a pre-recorded announcement. So one of the examples I like to give whenever we're talking about our rules engine is I say it could be something as simple as if I see motion recorded at a higher resolution. But it could be something as complex as if someone or an object moves from zone 1 to zone 2 in one of our radars, then play an announcement through one of our speakers. Go ahead and turn on a light with our IO switch. We're going to then move a message to an operator to go through and take a look at it. So you can see that there are a bunch of different options whenever we get into it, and radar is one of our best kept secrets. So it's actually really cool technology. And actually, it looks like we spurred off a few more with some of these that have come through. So the first question is, how do I become a vendor? Well, the best thing that I can tell you to do is reach out to your local sales team. So if you just call our 1-800 number and enter your zip code, that will connect you to a local Axis resource, and they'll help you start getting through all of the paperwork to be able to become a registered vendor. Understanding a little bit more about the system health monitoring. So the system health monitoring right now is a cloud-based application that we create a secure tunnel from our cloud down to the server, and the server pushes information up. So basically, if a camera goes offline or if the server goes offline, there's going to be a heartbeat with that server. So the cloud-based interface is something that you as the integrator would have at your location set up. What I like to tell people is there's always a screen with someone watching it, letting them know whenever something is happening. That can also be done through email. We know that you're not going to have somebody just staring at a screen. You're going to have an email ticketing system that we're going to be able to push a notification to. So that's it at a very quick level. Again, if you want to reach out to your local sales team, they can give you a full demo on all of the technology. Then the last question is, I want to be able to offer the system to my clients starting a new job, and I'd love to present the Axis solution. How do we get the pricing and get up and going? Again, we'll give you a 1-800 number to reach out to your local sales team. They'll be more than happy to get you set up as a vendor and also start to show you a little bit more of the technology, get you over with the pricing and explain all of our pricing structures, and be able to even help you go as far as to help design these solutions. We'll give it just one more second here to see if anything else comes in. All right, I don't believe so. So last thing I'd like to say is, again, thank you all for the time today. If you want to reach out and connect to me, this is my contact information. You can reach me at mitch.mershon@axis. Hit me up on LinkedIn. This is my cell phone, so if you need to reach me directly. But again, we also have a 1-800 number that you can call into, which is going to put you in touch with your local representative. And with that, again, I say thank you, and I'll kick it over to Jillian to close us out.
Thank you, Mitch. And I also want to thank Axis Communications for their presentation today. I will see you all on the next ESA webinar. I hope you have a great day.